Happy Monday, degenerates! Welcome back to the best damn MMA betting show on planet Earth, the Die Hard MMA podcast. We are making Mondays great again. We are rocking the baby blues. We are coming off just an absolutely glorious UFC 301. We've got the money chain. We've got the bucket hat, which apparently the hat's just going to be like a staple of the show now. I don't think I'm allowed to do the show without the money bucket hat on these days. I still got to find the shirt though. This thing has a matching shirt and I've got shorts. I mean, it's like a swimsuit. It's like swim trunks. I'm going to have to wear those to Vegas one of these days with the shirt and the hat and go, I'm going to have to swing by Superbook Sports and I'll go gamble over there in my swim trunks money outfit. But I guess the hat is staying, right? I guess we're just doing this now. We were one fight off at UFC 301, guys. One damn measly fight, and I can't tell you the amount of frustration that I am feeling right this second because I wanted the sweep. I wanted the sweep so badly this past week. It was right there. I could taste it. I had a $10 bet that if we had finished out and Usyk had gotten that title, that gold wrapped around his waist, $10 pays $6,000. Like that would have been one hell of a feather in my cap to call exactly the couple of dangerous underdogs that pulled off the upset and get all the right bounces. Oh, I'm still feeling it a little bit after that one. But hey, the reads have been on point. We've been good with even like the non-betting picks recently. Like we are trending in the right direction for 2024. So I am very pumped up. Now, something weird is going on right now. I got to tell you guys, I'm a little banged up. Okay. First and foremost, I apologize. I mentioned this on Friday. My throat, something is going on with my throat. I don't actually think I'm sick. It's like an allergy bullshit type of situation where I don't feel at all sick, but my voice sounds like it's gone. And if I enunciate too much or if I talk too much or if I get too excited or too loud, and of course I was screaming my ass off over the weekend when we were cashing tickets, my voice is just going away. It's been like this for 2-3 days in a row, but I feel fine. So I'm just going to have to warn you guys because I might not be able to talk by the end of the podcast. I don't freaking know. I have no idea what direction this is going to go. I am a little banged up though. I will tell you guys, story time. I was out of town this weekend. I went to go and visit my parents and they live in kind of a banged up little old town, right? And we're walking my new dog. We got a puppy a couple of weeks ago. And my daughter, who's 8 years old, we're walking down the street and I got total like spider senses dad vibes. And I've got like my arms full of my daughter's shit. And I'm carrying my wife's drink, her stupid, $30 not inflated, insulated, like cold drink carrier bullshit thing. And I just am like, oh my God. And I drop everything and I turn around. And again, I don't know why. I don't remember hearing anything. I don't remember seeing anything. And I just knew that I needed my hands. And charging at us is this freaking pit bull. And I mean, this thing is like, it looked like Yoel Romero running down the street at me. Like this thing was gigantic. It was muscled. It was thick. It was broad. And he's coming after me and my poor little puppy dog, right? And my daughter. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So guys, I full on, like I was an offensive lineman when I played football, like back in high school. So I got like my body between them, got my hands up, and I like laid out shoving this dog to like get it away from my family. This all happened in an instant. So like I didn't have time to think about anything. I just reacted. And all 250 pounds of me landed on my right side. So my shoulder is fucked up. My hip is bruised to shit. Like I hit the pavement hard because I dove at this dog with everything I had to keep it away from my family. Now, we got super lucky this ended up being like a friendly family dog, I guess. And it was just coming to see us. Because I see this little girl like running down the street afterwards, like chasing and calling it. And it just kind of scampered off afterward. I didn't know that beforehand. This thing gave me a freaking heart attack. I thought I was going to lose an arm. I thought my puppy was going to get eaten. I thought my daughter was going to get, a part of her head taken off. I was terrified, the amount of adrenaline pumping through me this weekend. It took me like a full 5 hours to calm down from this bullshit. It was a near life and death experience for me. And then this dog just like wags its tail and saunters off into the distance. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I've been icing my shoulder now for 2 weeks. So, good with the bad, right? We had a good betting week. Comes with the territory. You got to yin and yang it out. You got to go the other way. So I'm going to have to take it easy in the gym for the next couple of days because it hurts, guys. My shoulder hurts like a bitch, but I'm happy my family is safe and we're all okay. And my pockets are full, guys. 15 units, baby. 15 unit win. That is by far the biggest win of 2024 this past weekend. And it's coming at the right time. We've been kind of, more down than up so far in 2024, obviously. But we've been kind of bouncing back when we needed to. If it wasn't for like the miss on like the Jamal Hill 7-unit bet, like we would be running somewhere close to even right now. So this 15-unit win gets us right back in the ball game. And I'm excited for the back half here of this year. I thought I was going to have to like filibuster a little bit, guys. The guest this week is running a little bit late, but it turns out he's really not. So I'm going to go ahead and pump us up. We are ready. It's been a long time coming. My guy, Zaid, is your guest this weekend. We're going to be talking about UFC St. Louis. Zaid, my guy, how you doing?
What's up, brother? How we doing? Is the audio good?
Audio's good. You sound great.
Okay.
Look good.
Okay. Good. I'm out of my usual setup, so now I'm doing a little bit different today. Things are a lot different today, I would say. So I'm ready to get into this card. Excited to be on, and let's get it rolling.
Hell yeah, man. I'm stoked. I love the poster in the background, by the way. That thing is freaking awesome. Hey, I forgot to shout out the chat real quick so you guys know who you are, and now we're way too far behind. I can't scroll through and say hi to everybody, but if you guys don't know Zaid, you need to know Zaid. If you don't know Zaid, you need to follow him, especially on, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call the damn thing. He's a great follow, a great gambler, and I'm really excited. We've been talking about getting him on the show for quite some time now, so it is way past due to have him on here to talk through a fight card. How did you end up doing last week?
So last week, I took a lot of unders, and it didn't work out well. But, I mean, Pantoja saved the card for me. I had Pantoja and parlays everywhere. But, fights I expected the violence to happen didn't really happen. I mean, I had Jose Aldo by knockout. That kind of summed up my night right there.
Me too.
I mean, it was just – it was a couple of plays where, I would play them again. I had Urabai inside the distance. I thought he had a lot of chances to end the fight. He had Mount a couple of times. I thought he could get a submission there. I had the under in that fight. But Pantoja, I had in a lot of parlays with a lot of different people that worked out. It was kind of a chalky, all the favorites won almost. And we had the Anthony Smith by submission. I know you hit that. I hit that as well. So
Yes.
Tailing you guys on these plays here and there that I see, those long shots I love to do. And we have success with it.
Yes, sir. No, that felt good, man. Calling Anthony Smith and then getting the submission prop to go with it. Not even having to sweat it. I'll be honest with you. I played the round 3 sub because I thought he was going to take a beating. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to kind of punching bag his way into the deep waters and then drown the kid. Didn't even have to sweat it. It was over almost immediately as soon as he grabbed that neck. I could not be happier about that, man. So glad we hit that. Glad you were in on that as well.
Yeah, and you hit, correct me if I'm wrong, you hit, I think, every single fight except the main event?
I just missed on the main event.
God.
And bro, so I've got it scored either 2-2 going into 5 at worst. I thought there was an argument you could score it 3-1 for Ursig in the 4th round. Round 3 was the swing round, right? Like it was relatively close. It was mostly Pantoja, but Ursig hit that big open elbow where he cut him up and made him bleed. And, scoring criterion MMA, damage is number 1. So I kind of expected that Ursig would get the nod for that round. Obviously, it's in Brazil, so maybe not. If it wasn't for that cut, it's a Pantoja round. So, I understand it's going to be close, right? But I had it 2-2 going into that final round. When he shot the takedown, I almost cried. I was like, no, he's giving this guy who we have film backpacking his last 2-3 opponents in round 5 to squeeze out a victory. And you gave him the window. I really feel like if Ursig had just kind of stuck and moved in round 5, he wins 3-2.
He can coast on the feet there in the 5th round. And it was crazy to me too. I mean, I had a lot of money on Pantoja. I did not think Usyk would be that good on the ground, and he responded well. You know, Pantoja had him in a lot of bad spots. And usually when he gets you in those type of spots, he finishes the best of the best there. So, I mean, for me, Usyk, I mean, his stock only goes up from here. I think he's a top 2. I mean, honestly, I think he's top 3, no problem in that division. So, I mean, I think his ranking is going to be – I wonder what it opened up at. I don't know if it opened up yet in the rankings, but I think he's a top 3 fighter in that division. It's just sad to see that IQ moment there at the end of the fight. You know, I think him shooting in general, like he shot earlier in the fight, you do not want to mess with Pantoja on the ground. I mean, the scrambling ability this guy had, I mean, he just Granby rolled straight into his leg and reversed it. It was beautiful.
Yep.
It was absolutely beautiful.
I think it was kind of a young man, let me prove that I can hang type of situation. And also, I do think there was some strategy involved where you don't want him just feeling safe that you're never going to threaten any other opportunity in the fight, that kind of thing. So I get mixing in a takedown here and there. But the way Pantoja controls people, the way he finds the back, like especially in round 5 when you're exhausted, like that's a mental mistake from a young kid that was on the big show for the first time. And you hate to see it, man.
I hate the mixing it up thing. Like, okay, you know what you need to do to be victorious in this fight, and that's keep the fight standing. So why are you even like? I don't agree with taking him down and just giving him a different look. Like, keep it standing on the feet. You're avoiding most of the takedowns and outstrike him, and that's the best path to victory for him. And he followed it for most of the part in most of the fight, but. I mean, towards the end, when it's 2-2 there, I scored at 135 Pantoja. I thought it was kind of clearer than most people think. But, you know, overall, I think it's a big learning lesson for him. And he'll be back, no doubt. I mean, this was a great fight for him.
Absolutely. Completely agree, man. He will be back. Just hurts me a little bit that I'm not going to get, you know, plus 200 on his next opportunity.
Yeah. But in all honesty, it was a horrible bet on my end. Looking back now, obviously, hindsight. Like Pantoja, if you redo it and put a lineup, I would make it close to basically a pick 'em, honestly. Getting plus 200 was great value there.
Yeah, man, that's how I felt about it. So I'm bummed. I'm bummed because I was this close to sweeping the entire card. That would have been glorious, but hey, can't win them all. We'll try to do it this week though. So guys, again, this is our guy Zaid. He's going to be breaking down this card. This is UFC St. Louis. We're on the home of fight. Subscribe if you haven't already and hit that like button for me so we can get the show rolling. Everybody's in here already. We got a nice crowd here, 262 live viewers. You love to see it on a Monday. So let's get straight on into this card, everybody. First fight up, we've got JJ Aldrich, and she's taking on my girl Veronica Hardy, formerly Veronica Macedo. I tried to get Dan to understand that this is our girl, right? Before they got married, she was my girl. That's how this works. But you guys know this one, plain and simple for me. I posted it on Twitter. I was like, hey, system pick, my girl. It's like Jillian Robertson. Like, I'm just going to keep going to war every single time. It's a bit of a bummer, though, because before we even get to the breakdowns, in hindsight, I already kind of regret this bet a little bit just because I feel like it's kind of a bad bet. I got a bad number. I got like minus 142. And she's sitting at minus 135 right now. So some money has come in the other way on JJ already. And the more I sit with this, first and foremost, I do believe that Veronica Hardy wins this fight, right? So like that's just kind of the crux of it. I bet her. I think she's going to win. She's one of my favorites. So we're just going to roll with it. We're just going to ride the train. But she opened up like a plus 200 underdog. That money line is way gone by now. I wish I was anywhere near that opener. Any plus money on Veronica is always good money on Veronica. But it's almost like what you were talking about with Pantoja. He won, but the number was wrong. I kind of feel like that's what's going on here in this spot because JJ Aldrich is extremely well-rounded. Now, she is not an athlete. That's the one thing I always remind everybody about JJ Aldrich. She is just not an athlete, but she's very good. She's very well-rounded. She's skilled everywhere. She's got some wrestling chops. Her boxing is solid. So she's someone that you really just cannot look past. She's 31 years old, just kind of coming into her prime. I do kind of think we've almost seen, maybe the completed version of her, but that's not to say she can't improve just a little bit. But I think she's got more of a ceiling because of that limited athleticism. Now, Hardy, on the other hand, 28 years old, kind of the exact opposite, right? I feel like there's a lot of athleticism that can still be tapped into in this spot here. She's got fast hands. She has very opportunistic grappling. She's mean, and that's something that I love to see. The UFC has done their very, very best to try to bury this girl, and she just keeps on standing up in front of them with her husband and going, no, we're not going anywhere, guys. And so I've gotten fantastic numbers betting on her basically her entire time in the UFC. And guys, You look at her record, and it's gross. You know, the Andrea Lee fight, the Jillian Robertson fight, the Bea Malecki fight. Like, we talked about this in the last breakdown. That was a completely different human being. She had a whole lot of medical issues and problems that she was just trying to kind of pin her ears back and work her way through and just ignore it and keep punching. And she had to take time off to like let her body physically recover. And now that she's come back and she's with a game planning genius like Dan Hardy, and she's able to make 125 pounds instead of fighting up a weight class at 135, like, she's in a completely different space than she was before. So I still think a lot of people think she's bad based on those, first couple of UFC events, that first run that she had. So we got to keep reminding everybody that it's not the same person. But at the end of the day, she is still a little bit undersized at 125. I think if there's any finishing equity, Veronica Hardy probably is the one who's got it. She's got that nasty BJJ. She can snap arms off, from bottom, that kind of thing. But I do think JJ might be a little bit more physically strong, which could cause a problem in some of these grappling situations. Veronica's going to have to rely on the speed. And I think the boxing is pretty close. So like I said, I'm picking Veronica to win, but in hindsight, this probably should have been a pass, and I could just root for my girl because it's probably pretty close to a pick 'em, but I laid minus 140. So admittedly, maybe a bad number. I still am picking Veronica to win. Hope I'm right. Hope I cash a ticket. But I completely understand anybody taking the dog shot on JJ this week, man. What do you think?
Honestly, I'm in agreement with you. I think Veronica looked really good against Horth. I know she won a split decision in that fight, but like her moving around, countering, the boxing was really crisp. She rocked her a couple times on the feet early in the fight. I think Aldrich is going to be, I think she's going to be lost on the feet, to be honest with you. I think Hardy's going to just be able to clip her time and time again. She keeps this fight standing. I think she has a power advantage. I think overall she's the more experienced fighter to me, it looks like, boxing wise. And I think this is going to be a stand-up fight. This is a fight that's going to go to a decision. I think the over 2.5 is like minus 450 or something right now. So this is a fight that's going to, I think, end up on the feet the whole time. I think Veronica keeps it standing and she's able to pick her apart. JJ rushing in, she'll get clipped. I think she's going to have the more success in the boxing. And I think that's going to be a difference here. I would make her minus 150 to minus 160. I mean, I saw minus 135. That's about close to where I had it. But after watching tape, I think Veronica's really underrated, honestly.
Okay. That makes me feel at least a little bit better that I might, we're always hunting for value on the number, right? And real quick, man, I try not to give this speech too often, but people always seem to use that blanket statement of value. They think underdog. Like, you've always got to have like plus money if it's value. Guys, like, value means the number you're betting is less than the actual number. So if the number on Veronica should be minus 150 and you bet it at minus 140, that's value. You can lay chalk and still be getting the value side of a bet. So fingers crossed, hoping I still am on the value side here, even though I paid kind of a bad price as far as what's out there and readily available. My guy Dixon Sider in the chat saying, did I see Veronica's interview on Harrell's show today? She's a powerlifter now. And no, I didn't get a chance to listen to that just yet, Dixon. So thank you. I will be sure to go back and listen to it. Man, if she's powerlifting up and she fills that frame out a little bit at 125,
I like it.
Maybe
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
And speaking of value, like, I remember there was the Makhachev Volkanovski fight, the first fight. FanDuel had like whoever lands more takedowns in the fight, and I think it was around minus 950 roughly. And I literally like laid the number. Like, it was just like, there's no way Volkanovski's gonna even attempt to take him down here. So it was, I think I bet like $950 to win $100, and I got called stupid for it, but I just knew it was
bridge jumping prices.
Yeah, like, I'm like, you know what, just, it's okay, like, let's just do it. It's not gonna lose. And I mean, it was a free $100. I don't know. I mean, certain things, like, I feel like that should have been priced around minus 1,500. Like, those things are outrageous. So you can always find value even in like a big favorite that should be a bigger favorite. 100%.
Speaking of which, if you guys are on Twitter, I'm getting absolutely roasted right now by the community. They just announced that Peyton Talbot is going to be fighting Yamis Gramori at UFC 303, and the secret's out apparently because I tweeted out Talbot minus 500, and every single reply is add another zero. That would be value. That line's too short. Okay, guys, I got it. I got it. All right. Like, I should have put minus 1,500. My bad. Same concept. Same idea.
There we go.
My guy Nuke the House saying it was always V. That's what's up. Hey, by the way, shout out time. If you guys don't know Nuke the House, I tell you guys every other week that he's in here. Best NASCAR guy in the freaking business. We lost a 45-1 by a hair on Saturday. It was a photo finish, and we lost 45-1 by a hair. But luckily, this guy's a mad genius, and he had the guy that actually won the race as well. So less of a payout, but we still ended up getting the bag there that week. So make sure you check out Nuke the House, guys, especially if you like the NASCAR races, because it's a lot more fun to bet than I realized after tailing him, actually. It's a good time on Sundays. All right, everybody. Next up, Jared Gooden, the Night Train, takes on Kevin Jousset. And this is CKB welcoming back Jared Gooden. He is a little up, a little down, got a break from the UFC, worked his way back. I like this guy. I like the Night Train. 30 years old. He's big. He's well-rounded. He's a pretty big hitter. He's got kind of underrated power in his hands. Very durable. I think he's a BJJ brown belt. I don't believe he's gotten the black just quite yet, but he's actually got a 2-inch reach advantage here in this spot, coming off a win over Wellington Turman, a spot where I was extremely impressed with how he handled himself. I felt like Wellington Turman was kind of headed the right direction, and a guy the UFC was trying to get, a couple of wins under his belt, and Jared Gooden just said no. It was one of those spots where he just came out, beat the brakes off him, and I thought if anything he'd knock him out, but he tapped him out, which is more impressive considering Turman was a grappler first coming into that kind of a fight. Taking on Kevin Jousset, 10-2, City Kickboxing, 31 years old. He made his successful UFC debut with a round 1 KO over Kiefer Crosby, and then he followed that up with a decision win over Keenan Song, which is interesting because he really seemed like a kind of crash and bang type of guy. And I was very impressed with his ability to kind of pump the brakes and sit back and follow a game plan against Keenan Song. He was never really in any danger in that fight, and he just handled it with a poise that, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was capable of, Zaid. I was very impressed with that last fight. He has a huge frame for this weight class, even bigger than Jared Gooden. He's going to be 2 inches taller, even though he'll be at a reach disadvantage here in this spot. He generally tries to get in there and trade power shots and just go chin for chin with people, except for that last fight, like I mentioned. My favorite thing about him, those massive step-in elbows. When he decides to change up his timing and change range and go elbows instead of punches, he catches people off guard and crashes the pocket, destroys people with these big power shots. My question here is, though, what happened? This feels like massive recency bias to me, man. Jared Gooden's a guy that, I root for on a personal level, but is a very, very underrated fighter. He's always a guy that gets overlooked. Kevin Jousset is brand new to the UFC, and going from giant dog to solid favorite in a spot like this kind of has me raising an eyebrow and being like, what's going on here? Like, why is all of a sudden everybody all about Kevin Jousset when he wasn't supposed to beat Song Kanan in his last fight? I actually think this is a pretty decent matchup for Jared Gooden, and I think the plus 200 is way too wide. It's a little disrespectful of his skill set, I feel like. These are two guys that are going to match each other's, size and reach, and if we're talking power, then yeah, maybe Jousset probably has an advantage, but Jared Gooden might be the cleaner technical striker, and I think he's got an advantage grappling as well. So I think this fight's going to play out a whole hell of a lot closer. I'm actually tempted on a little dog shot here on Jared Gooden, man. What do you make of this fight?
For me, I think Jousset is just I think he's going to be able to outstrike him here. Like Gooden, I thought Gooden was like 40 years old for the last 3 years, and every time I see he just seems like the almost like a gatekeeper, but he hasn't been that good enough to be called a gatekeeper, I would say. And I mean, he beat Wellington Turman, but I don't think it's that impressive as a lot of people think. I think the price is right. I would argue Kevin to be almost even minus 300 at this point.
Oh, wow.
I think Kevin's going to have a field day here. I think this is kind of a showcase fight for him where he could go in there and look to make a statement. I think he could get him out of there as well. Overall, this is a fight for me. It's the favorite or pass, and around minus 245, you could throw him in a parlay, if you find someone else to pair him with. But, for me, I lean Kevin here. I think Gooden is just a guy that's kind of been around the block for a while, hasn't had those big statement wins against any real, high-level fighter. And I think this is a spot for Kevin to just, build himself up slowly.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of disagreement here on the show for you guys. I'm leaning dog. He's leaning fave. We'll let you guys make the deciding here. And we've got a probably in the chat says Jousset whatever way he wants. And okay. All right. We'll see. We will see. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the trigger on that one just yet or not. I'm going to watch the line, man, because I think most people are going to be on the Jousset side. I'm wondering if maybe I get a little bit of a better line as the week goes on.
You might see plus 220, plus 230, honestly. I think it'll go the other way.
Yeah, probably so. All right, guys. So we're moving briskly, which is probably good for my throat. Next fight up, we've got Jake Hadley taking on Charles Johnson, Energy himself. And okay. This has been a bit of a struggle, man. I have been the guy banging the drum for Charles Johnson since he got to the UFC. I'm like, I love this guy. We're gonna make so much money on this guy. He's got that style where like he just kind of ramps up as the fight goes on. And I love when guys do that. He's hard to take down. If he does get taken down, he's got excellent submission defense. He's hard to finish. He's durable. He's tall. He's long. He's got volume. And then he's got the cardio. So when you start to slow down, he starts to turn up. And I'm like, that is just such a money, well-rounded skill set. And he goes on a 3-fight losing skid immediately. It cost me a bundle, man. I was having a hard time with this guy because I bet him damn near every single fight. I still have some pain in my ass from the Ode Osborne split decision because first and foremost, he won that fight. Secondly, Ode got that full 5 minutes to refill the gas tank, taking every single sweet second after the incidental cup shot to make sure.
That was a crazy fight. Crazy fight. The scrambles back and forth, like it was chaos. But yeah, those 5 minutes were huge. I remember that because I had Ode, and I'm like, man, we're lucky here. And
yep.
I mean, it could have went either way. I agree 100%. But
that move, man, if he doesn't take that whole 5 minutes, he's a dead man. He knew what he was doing. Sure. He knew exactly.
For sure. You got to respect that. I mean, you got to respect it at this point. Yeah.
You do. You absolutely got to respect it, man. It's not his fault the rules are that way. He took advantage and he got the win. It is what it is. Now, his opponent coming into this one, Jake Hadley, 27 years old. I love this kid also. He gets to the UFC in a bit of a weird situation, right? Like he balls out on Dana White's Contender Series and Dana almost doesn't sign him because he hates his attitude, because he thinks he's got a problem. He's going to be tough to manage. And then he gets his UFC debut and they throw him to Alan freaking Nascimento. But he gets grinded on in his UFC debut. Now, after that, he rattles off back-to-back finishes. Looks very, very impressive. And I had him by sub against Cody Durden. Now, this is back when me and Cody Durden were beefing. And I was just fading him at every opportunity. But no, I really thought Jake Hadley was going to sub the guy. Turns out, Cody Durden's mental power is just beyond mortal understanding. He's in one of the deepest chokes you've ever seen. He's in one of the deepest arm locks you've ever seen. And then he just powers through it. His left side of his body is numb. The dude had a stroke in the octagon and still willed his way to win that fight. Hats off to Cody Durden. So, you got to kind of just tip the cap with that kind of a loss. But now you've got Hadley, who's taken damn near a year off at a very young age, with a very dangerous skill set. Man, I think this is a spot where the UFC almost is like, all right, Charles, pat on the back. You got your win, buddy. We'll keep you around a little bit. Now we're going to go beef that guy's record up a little bit. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they're chucking him straight back to the Wolves. There's a clear A side, B side in this type of a spot. I can't for the life of me go back and bet Charles Johnson, man. It's becoming like Dontel Mays all over again. We're like, I just can't stomach losing money on this guy anymore. But I'm cheering for him from a personal side of things. I just think Jake Hadley's boxing is going to be too clean. Like, I think if he gets inside, the speed difference is going to be a problem. And I just love the way he goes to the body. If you're going to slow down a cardio machine, it's body shots. That's the way you pull that off. So I don't think that it's just a foregone conclusion that Jake can't actually find a finish here in this spot. And if Charles does decide to level change, that guillotine is quick. The squeeze is tight. I do think Jake Hadley's probably the side here in this spot. But again, I don't like the line betting against the guy that I've previously kind of championed, right? You've got a minus 165 plus 140. I think it's favored or pass, but it's probably a pass for me, man. What are you doing here?
For me, I think this is the time to jump on the Charles Johnson train. I think he can overwhelm him here a little bit, man, with the cardio. And he's a guy that, like you said, just doesn't get tired. He's going to keep coming forward. Johnson's going to throw a lot of strikes. I think he could drown him late, and I think he could have a lot of success scrambling here, looking for takedowns if he avoids a submission. Overall, this is a side for me. I'm definitely not laying the minus 175 price tag on a Hadley right now. I like the dog or pass here. I think Johnson's really live on this. I think it's going to be a fun fight. There's going to be a lot of exciting moments in this fight. This is a fight, honestly, one of the sleeper fights of the card.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be fun, man. I'm right there with you. And it's just, if anything, the line might be right to me. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't
Yeah,
feel the
yeah,
need to bet this one way or the other. So
yeah.
I'm going to sit on the sidelines. I'm like you, though. I'm not going to lay the minus 170, but what I will do is I will accept my guy Ethan Hershey's challenge here. He wants to have a shot bet on this fight. Hey, no financial investment, but I'll put some alcohol on this bad boy. All right, man, you got it. My guy Ethan Hershey wants just Charles Johnson. I'll take Hadley. And Zayd, I don't know if you have paid attention at all or anything, but Ethan has my number. I mean, he's beaten me like 5-1 every time he pops up with these shot bets. He just whips my ass, and I end up drinking on the show. It's kind of a win-win, right? Like I either get to brag about winning or I get to drink on my podcast. So it is what it is. But he's got me. He's got me way too often.
Me and Ethan are on the same side here, so let's get it. I think I might throw some pizza money on Johnson and just see what happens. It's entertaining.
There you go. And like I said, I'm cheering for the guy on a personal level, man. I'm a fan of his. I like the attitude. I like his never say die, never quit type of style of fighting. So I will be pulling for him, and we'll see if I'm drinking next week or not. All right, everybody, we've already got over 400 live viewers on the pod. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight, and keep it coming. Next up, Trey Waters takes on Billy Goff in a fight where I completely forgot about not one, but both fighters coming into this one. Man, I had to do some work. I read those names and I was like, who? Man, Trey Waters, 8-1. Absolutely huge. 6'5" is what they have him listed at. Dude, this guy is freaking massive. He's 29 years old. He lost to Bonfim on Dana White's Contender Series, made his UFC debut, short notice, against Quinlan, and was a big underdog in that spot, and got the win. Looked really good in that spot. I'll be honest, I talked a little bit of shit about him coming into that spot. I just kind of didn't really see the rage, right? Now, obviously, he was a big underdog, so it's not like anybody was super high on him in that spot, but I just don't really get it, right, with Trey Waters. He reminds me of kind of a bad version of Bobby Green. If you put Bobby Green on stilts, you get Trey Waters, which that sounds like a compliment, but it's kind of not. He plays a little bit with his hands too low. He does know how to fight long. It seems like he's kind of getting better at it, even though, he's not a young fighter, 29 years old. There's definitely still room for him to improve and get better. He looks to land that perfect shot. And he kind of finds himself in low volume battles sometimes because of that, because he'll try to just kind of keep you at distance and take what you offer him, which again, can be a strength if you do it right. But I feel like he ends up dropping close rounds because of a lack of urgency, a lack of aggression. He's always trying to pull you in and then counter. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage, and Goff is damn near the exact opposite. 9-2. Makes a successful debut, spoiling Asian Conor McGregor, to quote my guy Dan from Half the Battle. Nearly a full layoff, 25 years old. You guys know how I feel about that. Expect improvements from kids that come off those kinds of layoffs at that age. Now, Billy Goff, this guy comes forward like an animal, right? He just goes chin for chin with everybody. He just keeps stomping his way forward, relies on his head movement, looks to counter, looks to crash into boxing range, and then go to work with his hands. He does a good job of attacking the body and then just keeps moving forward. He struggles with some basics, though, man. I mean, like a good jab. He doesn't really respond well to it. He just kind of eats it, and he has to like reset his whole game plan when he gets popped right in the face. So, in my opinion, I know a lot of people are taking the dog shot here on Billy, and even though I'm not high on Trey, I'm actually kind of considering a bet on him here. Billy is an absolute junkyard dog, though. He's the kind of guy who's just going to keep on coming, and that scares me because that's the kind of guy that I want when I'm betting against a Trey Waters. But I feel like it's kind of a perfect stylistic matchup for Trey because you can keep this guy at the end of your range. You can jab, you can hurt his face, and then you can counter this guy as he comes in looking for big power shots. And Billy's been hurt, wobbled, rocked a lot in a bunch of fights. And I think a guy that's as big and as strong as Trey Waters might actually be able to knock him out. But if it turns into a dogfight, you want Billy. So again, man, not confident in this spot. Might not even end up getting to the window because both these guys are still pretty green at this stage. But I'm going to pick Trey Waters. What about you?
Yeah, for me, this was a fight I actually did a ton of film on today. And Billy Goff, I mean, you kind of hit the head on everything, as far as junkyard dog. I just see so much pressure from him in every single one of his fights. He just keeps coming forward. And Waters has that hand where he's flowing, and he got that counter right, and he's going to fling it out there, and it could connect. But both sides have KO upside here. Like I could see Goff just folding him to a vicious body shot, like we saw earlier. So like for me, I like the under. Fight doesn't go the distance. I think someone's gonna get KO'd here. Someone's gonna get finished, and it's gonna probably be Trey Waters. Like, I mean, Billy Goff has the chin to like just keep it going and going and going. And I don't know that Trey Waters can stand in the pocket like that and just keep firing at will. And give me the guy with the chin that, got that dog in him that's going to keep coming forward. I like violence here. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy gets knocked out.
I like that, man. I like that. I do like a finish here in this spot. I think both guys can win by KO. And like you said, Billy is the dog in this spot. He's got the better durability, but he's also the more hittable one. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah. And Trey, the thing is with Trey, yeah. And the thing is with Trey, like you mentioned, he doesn't really know how to fight long. And I think he's going to try to here, but Billy Goff's pressure, he just keeps coming and coming and coming, and he'll take the shots to give a shot. And Trey Waters is a guy that doesn't really like to be hit that much. I think he's going to get smoked here. I could see, if I'm playing Goff, I'm playing Goff KO because there's no way I see him winning a decision here. I think it's KO on both sides. I like KO upside for Goff, and I think Waters could catch him coming in as well. So just give me the under here. Just give me the under, and let's root for some violence.
I like that. Maybe we parlay up fight doesn't go the distance or something like that. This seems like a good fight to pull that kind of a thing off because I'm with you. I think Trey has to fight almost the perfect fight. It's set up for him to fight the perfect fight. So usually when I say that, it's like an argument against it, right? Because you're like, you've got to fight perfect for 15 minutes in order to win this. And I don't want that. That's a bad thing. But I feel like this is a perfect fight for him to do that. So yeah, man, I'm with you. If he slips up, he's probably dead. But I think he has a real live chance of knocking out Billy. So let's go under. I like that call. We're on opposite sides yet again, but we agree. We both like a little bit of violence. That's some good shit right there. All right, man. Insert Spider-Man meme here. We've got Tabatha Ricci taking on Tecia Torres, who is Tecia Pennington now, by the way, for any of those of you who care. My favorite power couple in women's MMA. So this fight, man, I'm going to keep it simple. Changing of the guard. This is a mirror image. You've got Tabatha Ricci and Tecia Torres, the shortest fighters on the entire roster, who somehow have the most muscle in their weight class. Like, they are identical. Have you ever played a video game where you can like custom create your own character and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the very end and there's like a color slider for your race. If you pick Tecia Torres and then just go a little bit more mocha, that's Tabatha Ricci.
Yeah. And man, I saw Tabatha at the Apex like 3-4 times during events. And man, she is so cut up. It's like
crazy.
Like I want her muscles. Like I'm looking at my arms, I'm looking at her arms. I'm like, holy shit. Like, man, I like Tabatha a lot. And then like for me, like just to break down the fight a little bit, like Ticia's coming up. Like when was the last time she's fought? Like 2 years ago. It's in April of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. She had a kid.
Mom she was.
Yeah, I fade that. I fade the mom layoff, the pregnancy, going through all that, having a kid. She's not probably training as much, getting into the gym every single day. She has a baby to look after. Give me Tabatha, who has done nothing but, as far as I know, train in Vegas, get a lot of work done. She's with Callum Walsh as well. I'm sure he's helping her a lot in getting her the right boxing training. And this is a spot for me. I like Baby Shark here, I think -130, -140 range. And I'd lay it comfortably.
Yeah, she's about up to -155 at this point, man. And I can't argue that at all. I don't know if you have heard, man, but I am the instigator of the new mom fade. That's what I like to call it, just because the amount of, and again, I say this every time because we've got some women listeners here on the show, man. I'm a married man. I've got a wife. I've got a daughter who I love very much. The changes women go through to have a baby, it's not a small thing. It takes so long to recover. Some of them never do. And some of those are non-professional athletes that never do. And then also your body goes from, I'm a killer in a cage, I want to rip your head off and do physical harm to you, to now you're a nurturing mother who's got to take care of this little thing and not want to bash anybody's brains in. Instead, you're a caretaker. That mental switch, some people just never recover from it. We've seen women MMA fighters who come back to the cage after having a child for one go, to prove to themselves they could do it one more time, to get back in there one last time. And some of them come back with the intention of competing again, fight once and go, you know what? I'm not like that anymore. And they hang it up after that. Like, it's a real thing, man. It's just a thing that I do not trust. I could never back a woman in their first fight back from having a child. It's just not something that I'll do. It's always fade or pass. Now, Dixon Sider, my man, he's absolutely right. Tecia is a specimen. So if there's anybody who's ever going to come back from something like that, it's going to be a physical freak like a Tecia Torres who will bounce back and bounce back strong. But at the end of the day, man, I think this fight just kind of comes down to the grappling, and there's a slight edge for Tabatha Ricci in that area. It's going to be a mess of volume and spinning, and it's going to be clinching and dragging each other up against the fence. The over is the lock of the night in this spot. It's going to be like minus 1,500 for this fight to go over 2.5. There's no finish happening here. But at the end of the day, Tecia is the one who I think is going to end up with her back against the fence. Ricci will ride the body lock. Ricci will have the advantage. If anybody's ever going to hit a takedown on Tecia Torres, which, by the way, guys, it's very hard to do, it would be Ricci who would be able to get under those hips. That's one of the big underrated things, man, that I think a lot of people don't understand. It is so hard to take Tecia Torres down, A, because she's strong, B, because she's good, but C, because her hips are so damn low. No one can get under those hips. This is the one girl who might actually be able to pull that off and get down underneath her. So that slight grappling edge will push me onto the Tabatha Ricci side. The youth will push me onto the Tabatha Ricci side. The new mom fade will push me onto the Tabatha Ricci side, man. I haven't made a bet yet, but I think after you and I kind of chatting this one out and talking it through, I think I need to.
Yeah, for sure. And we're in agreement here 100%. I think Tabatha's coming in a little bit undervalued, and I have to go with the fade as well. I mean, I love that fade opportunity right there. So let's get it.
All right. Sounds like a plan. I love it when we line up, man. It's, yeah, you know, it's one of those things.
It works out. It works out. Yes, 100%.
More often than not, it works out. Yeah. All right, man. Now this fight, this is a good one. This is a good one right here. It's the return of T-Rex, man. Terrance freaking McKinney taking on Esteban Ribovics. What a fight. What matchmaking. We have the biggest glass cannon currently rostered in the UFC taking on just the biggest brick wall you've ever seen in your life, right? Terrance McKinney, he's maybe the easiest fighter to handicap in UFC history. He's round one or bust to the extreme. If round two starts, this man has nothing left to give. And it's funny because a couple fights ago, he actually looked like he was attempting to change his style up. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to be this guy that just goes life and death round one anymore. I'm going to slow the pace down. I'm going to use my skills. That doesn't work. Doesn't work. That works for some people, but this guy is built like a Ferrari. You step on the gas pedal, and that's how you win fights. The skills need to level up with that, but changing him to a guy that's going to win a 15-minute decision, it just doesn't look like it's in the cards. The other skills are not there yet for him to be able to pull that kind of thing off. I've said it a million times. He needs to take 2 years off. Take 2 years off of fighting. Do nothing but patch up the holes in your game and then come back. And I think he would be an absolute monster. But as long as he keeps churning out these fights and like staying active, I don't know that he's ever going to morph into anything except what we've seen. And it's a coin flip of, does he kill this guy in the first round or not? The UFC has been smart enough to give him some of these guys that they make their bread and butter off of being durable. And here we go again, man. They're giving him Esteban Ribovics, a guy that I don't think it's humanly possible to knock out. You know, I bet against him in his last fight against Camwell Kirk. I didn't feel good about it, but I thought Kirk had good enough cardio and then control in the wrestling that he would be able to grind out a win. And frankly, it looked fantastic. And then Kirk death gassed in round two. And this guy went, oh, cool. Now we step on the gas. Like, that's what Ribovics does. The second you show a crack in the armor, he goes for broke. And you will never catch him. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. He just gains momentum the deeper the fight goes. And so I got to go with Esteban, man. I don't like it because I do think that fading a guy like Terrance McKinney, especially with that knockout power, the submission upside, he's got all of those quick finish opportunities. It's terrifying to put your money against that. But if Ribovics survives 4 minutes, it's his fight. That's it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I maybe this is a live bet spot. You know, maybe we just wait and see if he survives round one and then try to jump in because the books are getting smarter about it. The live odds are not going to be fantastic at this stage. Yeah. But at least we know we're making a good bet at that point because he's not unconscious on the canvas floor. Ribovics for me, man. What about you?
Yeah, and you hit it on the head. There's certain fighters that can only their style is just built for one round. That's like the Conor McGregors of the world, the Terrance McKinneys of the world, and all these type of guys that they're just built to fight, 5 minutes. And like you mentioned, Esteban Ribovics is a guy that cannot get knocked out. I have a hard time seeing him getting finished in this spot. And once it goes past round one, to me, he's like minus 300 or even more. I like him in the spot as well. I don't know if I'm going to lay the minus 175, but I think this is a fight you sit back, you enjoy. I wonder what fight doesn't go the distances, but it's probably, a crazy wild number. So
yeah,
for me, it's
right.
Ribovics or pass. Yeah, Ribovics or pass for me.
Yeah, we got a 1.5 at minus 238. Honestly, man, I would be looking at round 2, round 3 props for Ribovics.
Yeah, I agree.
think that might, in fact, be a smarter way to play this thing because he could finish in round 1, but like minus 250 on an under 1.5. Wow.
Yeah, and McKinney's not a guy that's like living in the gym, grinding out sessions and just, in the best shape ever. He's partying with like the Nelk boys like last month, just drinking and having a field day. So it's not like really this guy's in the gym, grinding it out and a guy you want to be putting your money on. So I think this is a spot where you could see, McKinney's a really exciting fighter, so I don't see the UFC cutting him, but, you get 2 or 3 more losses, you might see him out of here.
Yeah. He's a guy that it feels like he's got a safe roster spot just because he's must-see TV every time he comes out there. But yeah, man, he's young, and it doesn't seem like he has much interest in changing gears here. He could be the next Drew Dober, where he floats around and you get a title shot if you get past him once he kind of puts it all together type of thing. But he's never going to be a contender at this stage unless he really makes some changes and adjustments and fixes that up.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, man. All right, Ethan with a question here in the chat asking about getting a copy of the Die Hard Stimmy shirt. Guys, I made a deal back in the day with my guys over at Pub Sports Radio. They have the original merch. So if you want the Fireball and Popcorn t-shirt, if you want the Die Hard Stimulus Check t-shirt, I'm not going to start reselling those myself unless they pull it off of their shop because Pub Sports Radio, I was with them for a very long time. They were very good to me. We left on good terms. I'm not going to go back, on that kind of a deal with them, that kind of thing. So you can get it over on their shop, I believe, except I'm not seeing links. I'm gonna have to check that out. If they took it down off of their merch shop when I left, I have no problem then uploading it to my own. But if they wanted to keep offering it, then I would let them, obviously, because that was the deal we made from the start. So I'll look into that for you guys. If they took it down, I'll go ahead and throw it up on my merch shop. And Dixon asking, why aren't they giving me a royalty? Man, because we had such a good relationship going. They did a lot for me. So it was the least I could do. They were manufacturing the shirts for me. So it was one of those things where if they filled the orders for me, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I'll let them, take a big chunk of the profits of it because that let me get my merch out there for free. And I was just getting started. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was a good deal for me at the time type of thing. You know what I mean? And I have a great relationship with them. I don't want to, burn any bridges or anything like that because I love those guys. All right. Next up, we've got the return of Chase Hooper. He's taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. And I got to tell you, Zaid, if it wasn't for me coming off of a big 15-unit night and mandatory Die Hard Stimulus Check t-shirt, I would be wearing the memorial Chase Hooper Round 3 TKO t-shirt right now. Because my new thing, I forgot. My new thing is anytime I cash big on somebody, an MMA fighter, you buy the merch, you rock a shirt, you get a hat, something I think then I'm going to build out a collection of, wins, good memories that I can put on as a t-shirt and walk around remembering. So I got to find an Anthony Smith t-shirt, baby. That's next on the list. I got to go support my guy. But I called the Chase Hooper Round 3 TKO, and it was one of the best days of my freaking life when we cashed that because I think that was
what did that pay?
50
what did it pay? Jesus, that's
it was 50
insane.
to 1 Round 3 TKO. The KO was 15 to 1. The Round 3 was, I believe, 12 to 1, and then the parlay was 50 to 1 of those two. So we went money line, we went KO, we went round 3, we went round 3 TKO, and I just kind of sprinkled all the way down. It was glorious, man. So yeah, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Mr. Chase Hooper here, but I also really love his skill set. This white boy, he can't wrestle to save his life, but boy, can he scramble. he bends in directions that should not be possible. He folds himself in half and finds ways to scramble and somehow gets leverage in positions where I don't think you're supposed to be able to. He always finds his way to the top, man. And that's something that I think is so underrated. People are like, oh, but he flops around a lot. Yeah, but don't you realize, like, he snags somebody's leg and the next thing you know, he's on top of them, elbowing their head into oblivion. Like, the guy just never stops, and he knows not to accept bottom. He always tries to find his way up to the top. Now he's taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. Obviously just a phenomenal striker, a guy that carries his power super late. He's made a career off of defending takedowns and then sleeping people when they can't get him to the ground. But I think the key in this fight, man, the whole bet, the whole fight, all of it comes down to one thing, and that's, can Hooper get it to the floor? Because on the floor, obviously, Chase Hooper has a massive advantage. And even though Viacheslav can get taken down 9 times in a fight against Mike Beast Boy Davis and keep standing up and looking to bang, the difference is Hooper will pull an Aljamain Sterling. Hooper will transition to the back. Hooper will lock a body lock up. I have seen Slava make so many grappling mistakes against a pure jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean? Against wrestlers or guys that want to punch him in the face, it works fine because he just powers his way up. And it doesn't matter if you turn the back. He'll just work back up to his feet. Hooper, on the other hand, if you give that opportunity, it's body triangle season. You know what I mean? He's not going anywhere if you give him that opportunity. And I think that's what's going to happen here, is that eventually Slava will slip up and Hooper's going to get an opportunity to take a neck home. I think he's going to choke him out. We do also have to mention that Slava's coming off an absolute war against Nazim Sadikov. It was 6 months ago, and he basically was out on his feet in round 2, man. He took a ton of damage, ton of punishment. Now, he kind of willed his way through that, punched his way back into the fight, managed to get a draw. So you can't count out the guy's like heart. You can't count out the guy's chin. But those kind of wars take a toll. Eventually you can't take that kind of damage anymore. And Hooper, his striking is getting better. Like I mentioned, his elbows are nasty. His knees are nasty. Now that he's up at 155, he might be tall and skinny, man, but that cut to 145 damn near killed the guy because he was really sucking himself down. He's filling out now. He's never going to be Anderson Brito. You know what? He's not going to look like that. He's not going to have that kind of muscle on him. But no longer taking away from his body to keep himself at 145, being able to, eat and have some muscle on his frame. I do think eventually he will have some strength to show at 155 where it looked like he didn't early on. You know what I mean? So an interesting fight. Guys, this could go very poorly. Slava could beat the leg off of Chase Hooper and just KO him really cleanly, really easily. But I think Chase will be durable enough to take a couple of shots, initiate a scramble of some kind, and then once he does that, I think it's over. I really think that the floor is lava here for Slava Claus, and he goes down way too easily. I think Chase Hooper is going to find the neck and tap him out.
The floor is lava for Slava. You hit it on the head. I mean, I think Chase Hooper, something really underrated about him is his IQ, like his fight IQ in the game. He knows how to get himself in winning situations. And you mentioned, just getting him to the ground. There's going to be a time in this fight. He's not just going to get slept right away. He's going to find that position where he's dominant. And I think he will find that finish as well. I love him as a dog here. I love the submission. I think this is a guy where you get him down, and you mentioned, like the mistakes he's making on the ground. You can't make these type of mistakes on the ground with someone like Chase Hooper, who literally lives there and does it 24/7. His jiu-jitsu is a very high level. He came into the UFC really young, but now he's starting to fill into his body. The guy, I've seen him many times down in Vegas. Like he's becoming a future star, and this is a spot where he could get his name out there by beating a guy like Viacheslav Borshchev. God, his name is so hard to pronounce sometimes.
It's tough.
But Slava cause, let's just say. So give me Chase Hooper. I don't think he should be a dog here. I think the ground advantage that he's going to have is just so massive where you can't fade him here. Give me the dog. Give me the submission. Give me everything for Chase Hooper.
I love it, man. I'm so happy we agree on that one. It's a sneaky one. I got plus 140. This line is kind of ping-ponging around. It dropped down to like plus 120. Now it's back up to plus 130. So I got a little bit of value on that number compared to what's out there right now. But obviously, guys, I'll say it. I think any plus money is good money in this spot. I like Chase Hooper as a dog. I will have some inside the distance or a sub, something like that. And to answer my guy, Dixon Sider, saying why not live bet Hooper, this is usually your angle. It's because I said the floor is lava, man. I really think Chase could sub this guy in the first. I don't want to wait because there's a chance that, if he goes out there and he hits an Imanari roll, finds his way to top position, starts landing elbows, that number's gone. He's going to be minus 250 in a hurry. So it's one of those ones where this fight is going to be action-packed banger. It's either going to go right for me real quick or it's going to go wrong in a hurry. So I got to live bet. I can't live bet it. I got to bet it the way I want to bet it ahead of time. I'm going to go.
Hooper's a savage, man. He's a savage. He could take a punch and he can just keep going and find a way to win. And this is a guy 100% that I want my money on this weekend. I mean, he knows, fight IQ for me is one of the biggest things in the business. He's not going to go in there to trade with him, and he's going to find a way to get this to the ground. And like you said, when he does, that grappling edge is just going to be huge.
Absolutely. Dude, I love this kid so much. He is carrying the flag for skinny white boys all around the world. He's so underrated. I love it. I know I'm not a skinny white boy anymore. I'm like a skinny fat white boy these days. I got to hit the gym. But I was, believe it or not, at one time in my life, I was about 170 pounds soaking wet and couldn't put weight on to make the offensive line in college. So I was a skinny white boy at one time. So I love me some Chase Hooper. And like you mentioned, man, he's a killer. I love the killer instinct. He loves elbowing people to death from the mount, and it's so fun to watch this guy fight. Can't wait for this spot. And Ethan, my friend, he's wanting to retract, man, and we've never done this before. But Ethan, if you want to switch over and make the shot bet this fight, I feel much more invested in Hooper versus Slava. So if you want to swap, we can make this the one since I care more. I'll take that bet. I will take that bet. All right, everybody. Real quick, we are going to pay a couple of bills, and then we will get to some of the main card portion of your evening. And would you look at that? Did you guys see they announced Sandhagen versus Cousin Umar? It is coming. It's right around the corner. I am so excited. I can't wait. But I wanted to show that off just a little bit. But more importantly, guys, this is Home of Fight. You need to get subscribed, get checked in, join the Discord. There is a link in the description below. If you want the paid version of the site where you get access to the pros picks, you can use promo code DIEHARD to go ahead and get a discount on that subscription, or just come hang out. Use the free version. Come chill with me in the Discord, talk fights, hang out, talk stuff. It's good. Next up, we have got Spectation Sports. They're doing big things, guys. This is basically the #1 competitor for UFC's Fight Pass, and they've got better shows on this platform, if I do say so myself. Cage Titans coming up, Aries Fight Series, not FC, coming up as well. Lots of shows, MMA every weekend. You get a lot of Dana White's Contender Series and PFL Challengers fighters from these types of shows. So promo code DIEHARD will get you a discount if you want more MMA and regional shows for studying in your life. Next up, we've got the boys over at Fight Numbers. You guys know John Kelly. He's a regular here on the show. He is saving my ass when it comes to DFS because I couldn't play DFS profitably to save my soul. Thanks to John Kelly and his tools here on Fight Numbers, I'm breaking even now, and in fact may have won a little bit since I started with the service. I'll get you guys a link. I've got to sign up an affiliate thing that if you want to sign up, they've got odds, tools, projections, all kinds of stuff on this site that is very helpful, as well as, of course, access to their write-ups and all that kind of stuff. And John Kelly and his team, really sharp people. Last but certainly not least, my sponsor here, Bet Openly, peer-to-peer betting, guys. If you've ever been so sharp that you got limited by a book, that shit doesn't happen here. If you want to bet $10,000, you can do that on Bet Openly, and nobody's going to stop you because it's real-life human beings that are taking your action on the other side of the line. If you want to take $10, you can take $10. If you want to take $100, you can take $100. Whatever you feel comfortable, you can actually be betting against like 50 other live people out there. We're also running lots of giveaways. I did a $100 contest giveaway for UFC 301, which was cool. Literally just giving away money on the platform. We're running the Gauntlet, which is a picks contest for a 6-week period. We are in week 3 coming up this week. It's a real fun time. If we keep doing those, obviously you got to be signed up to Bet Openly to do that, but we're giving away $600 in prizes. So it's a fun platform. And then if anybody is talking shit, you guys can go head to head on Bet Openly, and you can, damn it, just went, baby. You're messing me up, man. I'm in the middle of my spiel, and the guy tells me that he sees my Pornhub tab open. Yeah, good shit. I made a mistake making friends with this man, Zaid. I should never have become friends with Just Went Baby. He torments me every single day, and I kind of love it. Anyway, so if someone's talking shit, if you guys are on opposite sides of a play, guys, the odds are better. That's the main thing. With going peer-to-peer with Bet Openly, the numbers on everything are better. Like we were talking about Slava Claus and Chase Hooper. Let's see what that looks like here on Bet Openly. We've got plus 142 on Chase Hooper, which is better odds than you're going to get out there anywhere else. But the same as the favorite side, minus 142, and instead of laying minus 155. It's 1% juice, and only the winner has to pay the juice instead of laying minus 110. It's the future of betting. It's great for sports like MMA and hockey, where it's like a money line sport. You guys really should check it out. And they save money. And my favorite thing, guys, Gino, the owner of Bet Openly, the guy that sponsored me, he put out a post today. They updated the way that you can see like your tickets and stuff like that. He throws out questionnaires and stuff like that on a regular basis. He's active on Twitter, and he responds to feedback from the gamblers. He is updating this website weekly. If there's feedback from the people, he goes, okay, cool, we'll fix that. And he makes the site better. So it's actively growing and improving. And we've got a question from Mauricio. Is it active outside the U.S.? Yes. From my understanding, there's a very short list of countries that do not allow Bet Openly. And in fact, places inside the United States, like California, for example, where sports betting is not legalized yet, they're actually licensed under like a DFS or something along those lines. So it operates in places where sports betting may not be legal as well. So like Bet Openly works in California, whereas DraftKings does not. So it's a wonderful option for you to give yourself some extra outs if you want to, if you're taking this thing seriously. All right, everybody, welcome back. My throat is killing me, so we're gonna have to get through these next couple of fights. Hopefully my voice doesn't break and give out before we do. Make sure you're following my guy Zaid, and we will talk about Waldo Cortes-Acosta. He is taking on Robelis Despaigne, and man, it seems like everybody and their mother just piling in here on Robelis. None of them believed, Zaid. None of them believed in his UFC debut. You give me a Taekwondo gold medalist, and they put him in there against Josh Parisian, and people were like, dog, I'm going to bet me some Parisian. What are you doing? That was the setup of all setup fights. I couldn't believe the amount of love Parisian got out of just thin air. People all of a sudden just piling over themselves to get in there and bet Josh Parisian. Well, now it's the opposite. Everybody's piling in on Despaigne, but I think rightfully so, man. You see what this guy can do at 35 years old. He's more athletic than I could ever hope to be. I could take 3 years of training in gymnastics and still not be anywhere close. This guy is so fast. He is so big. He's got twitch muscles, and he's got some of the longest arms I've ever seen with some of the most accurate punches I've ever seen. He knocked out Josh Parisian full on like bike pedaling backwards. It was impressive as shit to floor the man the way he did. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he's tough enough. You know what I mean? 11-1. I don't really have too bad of a thing to say about the Salsa Boy. I've kind of talked a little bit of shit on him because I just think he's mid, man. Like, he doesn't kick a whole lot. He's primarily just a boxer. He's not a huge heavyweight. It's funny when you run the tape back, man, because the announcers are all talking about his power, how hard he hits, power. He doesn't have any knockouts, man. He knocked out Lucas Brzeski. Okay, great. Like, he couldn't knock out Andrei Arlovsky. He got beat by Marcos de Lima. He couldn't knock out Jared Vanderaa. Like, he doesn't have the kind of power that the UFC wants you to believe he has. He's a volume guy. And that's the point for me. Like, if you gave Waldo like a stamp it type of power shot, maybe he does win this fight against the 35-year-old. But if you're giving me a boxer who's reliant on coming forward and doesn't really throw kicks and doesn't really wrestle, and he has to rely on his volume, which means you're going to have the opportunity to throw back and hit him, pretty clear spot where I think Robelis is going to have opportunities to land. And you do not want to be eating punches from Robelis. Again, man, I think this is a little bit of a setup spot. And I'm picking Robelis. I don't like the minus 200 that he's blown up to. I wish I had gotten a piece of that minus 170 where he was a little earlier in the week. Maybe one day the Robelis fade comes. But, guys, it's against somebody who's got a double leg, not this guy.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a setup fight. Maybe it's a setup fight. This is 100% a setup fight for him here. I mean, like I mean, hats off to the UFC. They know how to slowly build up stars by giving them the right matchups. And this is the definition of a perfect matchup here. So, I mean, for me, I would even put him in a parlay piece, even at the price right now of like minus 210, minus 220, whatever you could get him at. But for me, like, it's pretty obvious what we have here. We have a guy that can't wrestle against, like you mentioned, a Taekwondo legit guy in Robelis here on the feet. So I think this is a spot where he's going to roll, maybe get a KO in the first or second round.
Yeah. I think he's just going to piece him up, man. It's one of those things where eventually one of those shots is going to land just a little too hard for this guy to be able to handle. And it's going to be night again. And you know what, though? Even if it's not, like, I think he could go full Jose Aldo and win this fight by landing the bigger power shots. You know, you could go 20-1 on volume, and it's not going to matter because you'll go down to one knee on the one big power shot, and that'll wow the judges more than your jabs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I agree here.
I'm not calling it to go the distance. I'm really not. But I'm just saying it could happen. He could win even if he doesn't get that knockout.
I just think he looks so good, man. And like the power was just – it was like, wow, like watching him fight. I mean, I know it's Parisian at the end of the day, but I mean, it's going to be nice to see him again out here. Like there's so many, like I heard people talking shit about this card. This is such a good card as far as like underrated matchups. Yeah. Like I like a ton of these matchups on this card. I think it's going to be a really exciting fight and fight night in general.
We got Nichols in the chat saying Despaigne is just Ngannou from Wish. That's perfect, man. That's absolutely perfect. The It Factor MMA says that Waldo actually can wrestle, though. Can, but doesn't. I mean, like that's kind of the big thing. Like maybe he can wrestle a little, but against a guy who's athletic enough to be a gold medalist, even if it's in a different sport, like you're not doing shit to that guy. Even if he gets him down, he's not keeping him there. You know, so I still think it's kind of null, unfortunately. Real quickly, question here from Mauricio saying, bet openly, can it be? I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. Somebody asked if bet openly was in Massachusetts. And guys, bet openly works in any legal regulated state. If sports betting is legal, bet openly will work there, I think, except New Jersey for some odd reason. They have weird rules and laws in New Jersey. But everywhere else, it should be okay. Again, on the website, though, you can check where it's legal and available. I went ahead and stuck the link here in the chat for you guys, and it's also in the description of the video. So seriously, just check it out, guys. It's another good out to have, and they do have like a customer help page. So if you've got questions like that about whether or not it's legal in your state, it'll be on the site. Just take a look. Next up, we've got Alex Caceres taking on Sean Woodson. And we talked about the Spider-Man pointing meme earlier in the evening. This is almost it again. We've got two tall, long, lanky bastards who like to go volume for volume. And they're going to face each other here in this spot, man. I mean, obviously, it's not quite as to the extent of Tabatha, Ricci, and Tecia, but it's close. It's close. Bruce Leroy having a late career resurgence. He's looked really good recently, and in fact had a half decent showing even in a loss against a guy like Giga Chikadze. He's looked absolutely fantastic, and it's burned me a bunch because I have him on the fade list. Like, I never thought Alex Caceres was going to be much of anything, and the fact that he's turned into what he has recently has been kind of impressive, and I've just kind of had to stay away because not only is he winning, but he's like finishing people. His grappling has gone way up compared to what I expected, and he's tapping people out. He's finding the back quick. He's doing everything right. Sean Woodson, 11-1 and 131 years old. Kind of a similar story. After he got floored and choked out by Julian Erosa, I thought he was going to be all downhill from there, right? I think I bet Youssef Zalal against him. Lost that split, which feels awful. Run it back, baby. Now that we got Zalal 2.0, run that one back. I want to see it again. But I just still kind of don't believe in Sean Woodson, right? And I was incredibly disappointed that my guy Charles Jourdain lost the fight against him. But frankly, I don't think it should have been a split. Like, I thought Woodson damn near dominated that fight. Like, I couldn't make an argument for Charles Jourdain to win that fight. I had a bet on him that night. So I thought maybe I was going to get away with robbery, but in no way did I deserve to win that bet that night. Sean Woodson is a guy that I've got to kind of take a step back and maybe give a little more credit than I have in the past. But one thing I noticed about both these guys, It's high volume action. It's distance striking. And between the two of them, guys, they have 9 split decisions in the UFC. 9 split decisions in the UFC. I mean, if you want to go on DraftKings and find the split decision prop when it opens up on Thursday, that's the move. Because unless Bruce Leroy gets his grappling going in this spot, which maybe he could, but I don't know that he's even going to bother going to it because these guys probably want to strike it out. I think we're going to have a flowing striking match at distance where the judges really are confused on who did the most of what, because I don't think either of them are going to hit the other very hard, and I don't know that either of them are going to distance themselves in a fight because they almost never do. And if it's striking with no grappling, it's going to be close. I think we're going to see a 15-minute kickboxing match, and we probably end up getting a split decision out of it yet again, man. Do you have a confident take on this one? Because I really don't.
I like the Caceres side. I think Woodson's, just a little bit too big of a favorite for me. In this fight overall, if you could get Caceres at around plus 170, I think it's a bargain. I do like the decision once it comes out. I'm going to wait and see what it comes out on for Caceres to win by decision as well. I think, you hit it on the head as far as like striking. Both these guys like to, keep it at distance, strike. Caceres mixes it up really, really well. I think he has a lot more experience of Woodson here, and I think it should be a lot tighter than what the line is. Like, there's no way I'm laying almost 2-1 on Woodson in the spot. It's just it makes no sense for me at all. But the split decision is something that you brought up. I actually kind of like now that you mentioned it. Both these guys are going to be striking. You never know what you're going to get here. The judging has been all over the place these last couple of months, and I like the split decision as well. I might throw some pizza money on that and see what happens over there.
I like it. I don't mind that one bit. I don't mind that one bit. And hey,
for me, it's dog or pass. Dog or pass for me. 100%.
I like it. Yeah, for sure. That makes a ton of sense, man. Dog or pass, and I could be talked in to fading the favorite here because, guys, like I mentioned before many, many times, if I think the fight is going to split decision, that means there's value on the dog. Like, if it's going to be a close enough fight that the judges don't know who the fuck won, you want plus money in your pocket. You know what I mean? So I kind of like that a little bit. You're making me see the upside here on a Bruce Leroy package. And
Woodson, like Woodson, you get frustrated sometimes watching him. It almost feels like
really
he's like nonchalant, like he's like just coasting, trying to just get enough done just to get by.
Yeah,
Caceres, I think is going to have the bigger moments, and if he has the bigger moments in these rounds, he's going to win the fight. So like plus 170 here is definitely worth a look, and he does have that grappling upside.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Caceres has the better chin too, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And
I feel like we've seen Woodson hurt a couple times. Even though he hasn't been knocked out, I feel like we've seen him wobbled several times.
Mm-hmm. And you got to side with the experience here in this fight. Bruce Leroy has the experience. He's fought with so many tough guys. Woodson, he's still a little bit of a question mark. We saw him get floored by Arosa and choked out. I could see it happening here again. I just don't think you can lay a minus 198 or minus 190, whatever it is right now. I think it's around minus 190. I like the dog here a lot, honestly.
Man, damn it. You're talking me into it, man. I might get there. Mushroom says this is one that fight goes to disappointment. Man. And you know what, though? Ryan is saying that Woodson has epic takedown defense, and that might be fair, but Caceres is the type of guy that will climb you like a fucking tree. Like, this guy will jump on your back and claw his way up to your neck. He doesn't need a takedown to get the grappling going. We have seen him literally do that before, where he just catches a guy in a transition and jumps on his back, and that's it. It's over, rear naked choke, still standing. So I think the sub prop has a little bit of merit. I actually think, we saw a guy that I called pillow fisted in Bruce Leroy Caceres knock a very streaking UFC fighter out not too long ago. Who did he get? Who was that? It was Arosa. He knocked out Arosa in round 1. And that whole fight, guys, I was like, Arosa's, he's not the most durable guy in the world, but Bruce Leroy's got pillow hands. There's no chance. There's no round 1 crack. Like, I was like, okay, I guess I'm done. I can't call this guy pillow fist anymore. So
he'll hit you with some random stuff. Yeah, he'll hit you with some random stuff too. He's a fun striker to watch. Like, he'll just throw out anything and it'll land, which is, I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think it's going to be an overall fun fight. I think he's going to be the more active fighter, and I think that's what will probably get him the decision victory.
I like it. All right, I'm talked into it. We're going with it. That's going to be.
I'm betting it. Just put me down right now. I'm betting Caceres at like plus 170.
I like it, man.
Lock me in.
I like it. And you know what? I messed up because last week on the pod, I didn't make as big a deal about it as I should have with my guy Ursig. I talked about it online, but I didn't make it clear on the show. And I feel bad for that. That's my bad, guys. That's my bad. It should have been Anthony Smith, but I made it Ursig. This week, Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres is going to be your Link Memorial Dog of the Week. I'm on board. We're going with it. That's going to be our dog shot. I've already made a couple bets this week, but I think the more we talk about it, that's going to be the one. So we'll go ahead and make that our official Link Dog of the Week is Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. All right. Next up, you've got Carlos Diego Ferreira coming back against Mateusz Rebecki. And it's another crossroads battle, man. Diego Ferreira is a guy that on his best night was giving, future title challengers and contenders fits, absolute fits. He can wrestle. He can strike. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got power. And that knockout of Michael Johnson in his last fight, whoo-wee. I mean, he's still on the canvas. That was one of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen. But it felt like a Hail Mary, didn't it? I kind of feel like Carlos was starting to slow down in that fight. I kind of feel like he was waiting. He timed it well. Don't get me wrong. He made a wonderful adjustment. He won the fight. It was fantastic. But he was on the back end of almost everything. Michael Johnson was kind of running away a little bit with that fight until he landed that big power shot. And this is a guy that, even though he's dangerous everywhere, his takedown defense is a little tough. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, so he'll accept bottom. He's been TKO'd by guys like Gillespie, and even though it was a bit of a freak incident against Gamrot, he still got knocked out and finished in that spot with those knees to the body. Rebecki's gonna look to double leg the shit out of this guy. He's a little monster. He's on a run right now. This is a massive step up in competition, and we always worry a little bit about that. But the way he is running through people, lower level in the UFC or not, if you're a UFC caliber fighter, even at the bottom end, and you're just getting round one by this guy, he's handling these dudes the way a prospect is supposed to. You know what I mean? And I think there's some real upside with Mateusz Rebecki. He's a guy that you've got to respect both the striking and the grappling. He's got power to knock you out. He can choke people out. He's got a nasty squeeze on him. I love his top game. I have to go with the favorite here. He's a big one. He's like minus 300 at this point. Let me check the
around minus 310 right now.
Minus 310.
Yeah.
But I can't argue it, man. I really can't. I think it's Mateusz.
For me, Diego, it's like you look at his losses, and man, he's lost to the best of the best. He lost to Dariush. I mean, Gillespie, I don't know what happened to him. I guess he's just missing. I think I saw him on a milk carton the other day, to be honest with you. But we got Dariush. We got losses to Gillespie, Gamrot. I mean, those are tough fights for him. He looked dominant. I remember when he fought Anthony Pettis, he just looked absolutely dominant against him. Granted, Anthony Pettis, I mean, I know it was 2020, but
he's running his own show now, man. He's not even fighting anymore.
Yeah.
He's gambling on his little brother.
Yeah, it's crazy now. You'll probably find him at a casino in Vegas right now if you go over there. But for me, Diego's, dare I say, he's not it's plus 250 just not enough for me. But I think if you got to the plus 320, plus 330 range, I would maybe take a stab on him. But I think this fight's going to be a little bit closer than people think. I don't think Rebecki just runs through him. I think Diego's too good on the ground to just get run over and submitted. I think he's live, but not at a price tag of plus 50. I want plus 330, plus 340 range.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a pass, but it's going to be entertaining.
I completely understand. And honestly, man, I think it's more than likely a KO than it is a sub. You know what I mean? I respect the submission defense of a guy like Carlos Diego. I worry about the gas tank. I worry about the chin. So I kind of think it's a KO or a decision, but I think Rebecki's just going to top time him. You know what I mean? I think he'll find his positions and just stay on top of him, smother him, maybe not find the finish, but do whatever it takes to get the biggest win of his career so far. I think Rebecki ends up finding that win there. All right, guys, we got 3 more fights left to talk about. We're in the nitty-gritty here at the end of the show. Alonzo Menifield taking on Carlos Ulberg. Zaid, what are they doing? The 2 biggest fades on my list are going head-to-head here in this spot, and it drives me nuts because they're making me pick a guy, and I'm like, I want to fade both of you, and I've tried, and they've both cost me money. It's been absolutely ridiculous. Alonzo Menifield, this guy shouldn't work, okay? He just should not work. He's got so much muscle on his frame. It shouldn't be allowed, okay? And on top of that, his skill set is pretty poor, but he keeps monstering his way to wins. Now, part of that was because Jimmy Crute was incredibly overrated. I thought he was going to win those fights easily, man. The first fight went to the draw, and when they rebooked it, I was like, guys, this is it. Like, the prospect here is Jimmy Crute. The UFC was like, hey, you kind of fucked up that last one. We're going to run it so that you get the win. And then he hung up his gloves. Like, he was just like, nope, I'm done. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, Jimmy should have mauled this guy. Dustin Jacoby, I had so much money on Dustin Jacoby. This guy goes out there, gets himself in a very close fight that, frankly, I thought he won, man. I thought he won, and pretty blatantly. Like, you look at, and I know not everything is the striking numbers. You got to look at the power shots. Some strikes are more significant than others, that kind of thing. But he outlanded Menifield drastically. I mean, it was like 150 to 115 on the strike.
So I watched it. Like, I watched it live. Like, I was at the fight. I had Menifield. For me, it was like Jacoby was, controlling most of the fight and most of the rounds, but Menifield just had really big, weird moments. Like, just like meme moments. And those meme moments just took over the rounds. Like, the judge was like, okay, Jacoby lands a couple jabs, a couple kicks, and then Menifield just hits him with one bomb, and like, that's it. That's the round. Yep. And that's kind of how I felt it was like. I think Ulberg can kind of do what Jacoby did, but at a better rate and be more successful. But, like, I think this is kind of the same situation we see with Dustin Jacoby. I think this is going to be a very similar fight. Like, Menifield's going to have meme potential here again to just, like, land a couple big shots and boom, he steals the round. Because Ulberg's going to sit back. He's going to, get his range and try to pick him apart from distance. Menifield's going to rush in and try to look to land a haymaker. But I really consider this fight, like, on paper, kind of really similar to the Dustin Jacoby one. I don't know if you agree.
I do. I actually do. And it's funny because I bet Da Un Jung against Carlos Ulberg because I was like, you know what you want against Ulberg? You want a dude that's tough enough to take that round one damage. You want a guy that's got enough cardio to drag this guy deep. And then you want someone who can actually beat him on the ground. And lo and behold, we're in round 3. Da Un Jung's face is like busted and swollen up, but Ulberg's mouth is hanging open. Ulberg's on the retreat. Ulberg's panic shooting takedowns. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I had the sub prop with Da Un Jung. I had the money line with Da Un Jung. I was like, it's all coming together. And then Ulberg somehow wills himself to one last ditch effort takedown. And Da Un Jung is just done. He's like, I can't take it anymore. He concedes. And it's not Jung who gets the sub. It's freaking Ulberg who gets my round 3 submission. Right call, wrong side. And that broke my heart, man. But this is exactly like that, where, like, if Menifield just hangs around, he could absolutely meme the shit out of this guy. Because as much as Ulberg is a clean striker, as impressive and fun as he is to watch, and for how hard he hits, he does not like getting hit back. The dude's a model. He works with his face. He needs to be pretty. He doesn't like taking damage. He's not going to go tooth and nail in a war with you. He's a wonderful hammer and a bad nail. And I am actually, believe it or not, tempted on the Alonzo Menifield late round props, because if he can outlast Ulberg, I really think he can hurt this guy the deeper the fight goes. I'll be watching very closely for a live bet, man. I'm going to pick Ulberg pre-flop, and I'm not going to bet this thing unless I'm like sprinkling crazy numbers or something like that, because again, both these guys are guys that I want to fade. But I'm going to pick Ulberg to win and watch for a Menifield opportunity live very, very closely.
And I think I'm interested to see what line comes out for Ulberg by decision, because I could see him just trying to stick and move literally the entire fight. And he's just going to survive, win by like just picking him apart and surviving and just not getting memed. But for me, like Menifield, I don't think Menifield can win a decision. I think if you're going to play Menifield, you probably play him by KO and just and hopefully get a solid number. But the KO late, like you mentioned. So give me like a round 3 Menifield KO. And, if you're going to play the Ulberg side, to anybody in the chat, I think Ulberg by decision is like 90% what's going to happen if he wins. That's his win rate.
I completely agree. I mean, obviously, Ulberg's a big enough hitter. Maybe he can knock this guy out, but Menifield's durable.
Menifield's a tank. He's a tank, man. Tank. He is a
very,
tank
very
in person.
durable.
Just seeing him up and close, like, yeah, it's going to be hard to knock someone like Menifield out. But, I mean, it could definitely happen with a striker like Ulberg.
Absolutely. I think you're right. Because if Menifield gets his game off, I think Ulberg wilts. I think he'll get finished if Menifield gets going.
But will Ulberg look to exchange in the pocket and try to knock him out there? I don't see it. I see more of a stick and move type of fight for Ulberg, and Menifield kind of chasing him around the octagon for most of the fight.
Yep. All right, man. Glad we agree for the most part there on that one, folks. It is your co-main event of the evening. Joaquin Buckley takes on Nursultan Razaboev. And Manzade, I've already got a money line bet locked in here on Joaquin Buckley. And the funniest thing, the first thing people do, oh, you're trying to get your money back for that Cedric Dumas bet. No, this is not a revenge bet. This is a system fade bet. Razaboev's a bum, you guys. I've said this before. Nursultan Razaboev is a bum. I know he's got a ton of experience. He's 34, 8, and 2. Everyone's super high on this guy, but he is round 1 or bust. This guy's got 15 submissions in the first round. He's got 10 KOs in the first round. But you know what he's got also? He's got 6 decision losses. And you look at the people that he is losing to, guys. I mean, he got decisioned by a guy that's 18 and 11. He got decisioned by a guy who is 8 and 4. Like, some of these guys are absolute bums. He's got one of the paddest records I've ever seen in my life, and that's why I bet Cedric Dumas against this guy. And you know what, Zaid? I got a ton of shit for this. I don't care. I'm running it back. I'm going to say it again. Watch that fight. Cedric only goes down to the eye poke, right? If you watch that fight, he takes the best punch that Razaboev has. Razaboev throws it again, but this time he's not quite there and he misses it. Throws it a third time. Complete whiff. Dumas figured out the timing. Dumas figured out the range. This was a 2-minute fight, and you see Nursultan Razaboev's best effort. Cedric takes it, and the tide immediately starts to shift. Dumas was crashing the pocket. Dumas was resetting the range. Dumas was not taking damage. And then the eye poke happens. And that's the only reason he got knocked out, is because he was completely defenseless. And the referee did not give him a minute to recover. I was cashing that ticket, you guys. People are not going to believe me. They're going to call me delusional. They're going to say I don't know shit. I don't care. I was cashing that ticket. If Razaboev does not finish in the first round, he falls apart. You get his timing. He does not have a deep set of strategies. He does not have a deep game striking. If it doesn't work, it's not going to work. Now, he could melt Buckley in the first round. He absolutely could. He's cutting down to 170, I believe, for the first time. There's question marks around that. But I actually think that favors Joaquin Buckley a bit, because this guy already is a round 1 or bust fighter. And if now he's cutting hard to get himself down an extra 15 pounds, his cardio could very well be much worse from that. It's already cardio that I'm trying to fade, and I think it could be worse sucking himself down to a new weight class where he's even smaller. And on top of that, guys, I talked about the grappling. People want to talk about how dangerous his grappling is. It is all centered around the Kimura. Every single thing he does comes off the Kimura. He uses it to sweep. He uses it to sub. It's all arm attacks. Have you guys seen Buckley? Kimuras are power moves. Like, if you get on a guy's neck and you squeeze and it's a blood choke, you cut off his brain. There's not a damn thing they can do with that. But with a Kimura, you have to be stronger than your opponent or find leverage to be able to force them to do what you want them to. And Buckley's arms, it looks like he shoved watermelons into those things. This guy is so fucking big. He is so strong. Power submissions are not working on Joaquin Buckley. So, yeah, Razaboev could 1-2 this guy down the middle, hit him with that big nuclear missile of a right hand that he's got in the first 2 minutes. Sure, that could happen. If he doesn't do that, he's fucked. D1 Buckley can double leg this guy and put him on his ass. Buckley can come out here and explode and rip that tall, lanky-ass body. Buckley can kick his leg off or his head off. Buckley is surprisingly athletic and can get his foot all the way up there if he really wants to. I love Buckley in this spot. I've already bet it. I got, I believe, minus 155. But yeah, man, Buckley for me. What about you, Zaid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm as confident in Buckley as you are. But like for me, I mean, you got a good number at minus 155. I'm seeing like minus 165s out there right now. I don't know. Like with Buckley, there's still question marks for me. Like he fought Luque. I don't know what the hell was going on with Luque in that fight. Like that was just like a shell of Vicente Luque. I think he's going to retire by now, but
yeah,
I mean, Buckley was like,
man.
yeah, and it's like Buckley. I guess he looked good, but did he look great? I mean, not really. I just thought it was just literally like a shell of Luque in that fight. I don't know, man. I think Buckley could get lit up right away and then like kind of be hesitant later on in the fight. For me, I'm passing. I think this is lined like right about right. Like I'm gonna just sit back and watch the fight. I think there's too many question marks surrounding the fight, in my opinion, at least. So like, this is a pass for me. I'm not really confident in the Buckley side. I wouldn't lay the -160 or -165. I would just sit back and watch it.
Okay, fair enough, man. Nothing wrong with a pass. I'm gonna take my spot. I've done it before.
Good luck.
I've been wrong.
Good luck.
Carlos Ulberg is exact definition of me marking a guy as a fade and just being wrong. Maybe I'm doing that with Nursultan Razaboyev, but I'm going for it because I really don't think this guy is all he's cracked up to be. I think he's got massive chinks in the armor, and I think he got bailed out with that eye poke, man. Something that should have been a no contest, or at least the referee should have given the guy a couple seconds to recover.
I agree. I agree for sure.
If he does land a bomb and puts Buckley away, guys, I know that's an outcome. You know what I mean? I'm not blind to the fact that this guy's got speed and power. But if he doesn't do that, I do think over the course of 15 minutes, Buckley is the better fighter. So we'll see. We will see. Dixon says, Uzbekistan coming for that ass. maybe so. All right, everybody. It is time for the main event of the evening. And you know exactly who that is and what time it is.
I forgot about that video.
Beast.
I forgot about that video.
It is Derek Lewis season, baby. I got to get the right one up here now. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, returns, taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. And I've already made my move on this one as well, man. I laid it with Derek Lewis. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, why wouldn't you just take the KO prop? Why wouldn't you just, play the knockout on Derek Lewis? And I get it. It makes sense, right? But anytime a line is playable, we're at -130, -140, and the KO is going to be -110, I just don't get fancy. Again, every once in a while, someone's going to, a Derek Lewis versus Ngannou decision happens, and y'all played the KO. We all got burned on it that night. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly why. So if he was -200 in this spot and the knockout was -120, then I play it. That makes a ton of sense. You're saving a bunch of value on that number. Not this one. I'm just playing it straight. Man, how many times are they going to proclaim my guy Derek Lewis dead? How many times are they going to do it before they learn? He might be old, you guys. He might be 39 years old, but heavyweights tend to last longer because of that size. The power is the last thing to go. It's not an overly skilled division. It all comes down to who can hit harder and who can land. And is anytime, it's the same thing as Anthony Smith, man. This is exactly Anthony Smith from last week. If Derek Lewis is not fighting a contender, or in the case of Sergey Spivak, just a monster grappler, he wins. He's knocking out anybody who doesn't belong in the top 5 at heavyweight. And Rodrigo Nascimento is a guy who got knocked out by Chris Daukaus. He's a guy that got floored by the punches of Tanner Boser. Like, this is not a man who is built to take the punches of one Derek Lewis. There's a reason Nascimento didn't get the invite for the Brazil card at UFC 301, guys. They saved him to give to Derek Lewis in St. Louis instead. Yes, he's got fast hands, but he doesn't knock anybody out. He's got 2 KOs on his entire run. He's got 6 submission wins, and he's a BJJ black belt. That's impressive. But Derek Lewis, you can't take this guy down or control him. If you do take him down, he has the jiu-jitsu doesn't exist, fuck you, get up game, where he just picks up a 400-pound man and stands back up whenever he wants to and goes back to throwing hands. If you're going to throw hands and you stand to get hit by a guy, you better be the bigger hitter, and Nascimento is not. Derek Lewis is a much bigger hitter in this spot, and when they start trading, I think Nascimento is going to find that out pretty quick. Derek Lewis for the win, man. Already bet it. Love it. Let's go. Black Beast season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I like that you mentioned the fact that, most people would say, why don't you just play KO? I think Nascimento's crafty enough. I mean, like, we saw him against Mays, like, kind of just moving around, and, like, he's crafty enough to, I think, survive. I mean, granted, it's 5 rounds, though, man. Like, it's tough to, like, I don't know, honestly. Like, I'd play Lewis, and I'm probably going to have a unit on Lewis, but I'm not counting Nascimento out to just possibly find a submission and, like later on in the fight, kind of grind it out, survive the storm, get a takedown, get his back. Like Nascimento's crafty enough to do that. And I could see it happening. I mean, I think it's reflective in the price. I wouldn't mind playing him by submission when that line comes up. I don't know if you have a line available right now off the top of your head. But Nascimento submission is not a bad look for me, honestly. Like, I think if he wins by sub. Yeah,
I think it's his path to victory.
Yeah, and we saw like Almeida lay on Lewis for 5 rounds and it's whatever, and now everybody's gonna be off that side of submission against Lewis, and now it's gonna end up hitting. In my eyes, I could just see it happening. But Lewis
plus 300,
Lewis could put him away.
It's not great.
Yeah, it's not that great. I mean, maybe target a round. He survives the first round, the second round he gets it done, or in general, I just think Nascimento is going to be really cautious. I don't think he tries to trade with him as much. He tries to find his moments, look for a takedown. He's a smart fighter. He's not a good fighter, but he's a smart fighter, and I think that's really underrated in this spot. I bet him against Mays. I just thought he would be able to do what he did. And
I did in the rematch.
I don't know. I like Rodrigo. I don't know. I got a soft spot for him. So I hope he just doesn't get smoked in 2 minutes and just gets knocked out right away. I want this to be a little bit longer of a fight, and he knows deep down, okay, if he wants to win this fight, he needs to drag this out as much as possible, get Lewis a little bit tired and see what he can do. Maybe, find a takedown, find the clinch against the fence, take him down that way. He's not bad against the fence. We saw against Mace, he was able to, do a little bit of work against the fence. So for me, I don't mind Rodrigo's submission if we could get a little bit of a better price tag and maybe hunt round 2, round 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that if he's going to win, that's probably the way he does it. But I mean, man, just looking at his level of competition, Mays twice, Badeau, Bozer, you know what I mean? This guy got knocked out in round 1 by Alan Badeau. And the only reason he didn't die that night is because he was on all the steroids, popped, and got that loss overturned. You know what I mean? I think the UFC knows what they're doing here. Doesn't Derek Lewis have a disgustingly awful record at home? Isn't that a thing? He can't win in his own backyard. They're going, this guy got knocked out by Alan Badeau. This guy got knocked out by Dawkins. This guy got dropped by Tanner Bozer. All right, Derek, you're 39 years old. We're coming to the end. Let's give you a guy you can finish in your backyard.
Ethan saying Lewis by murder. I mean, for me, I think Rodrigo's smarter than that, man. I really do. I think he can find. I mean, I don't know. Hey, I may be wrong, but I'm taking a shot. Hey, you see that? You hear that? It's a dog. The dog is barking. The dog is barking. All right.
That is not what I wanted to hear right now.
Give me Rodrigo by submission for a flyer, honestly. I think he can get it done. I think he's going to be smart enough to find a way to get this to the ground where he will be successful.
All right. No, man, I don't hate it. If he's going to – Zelda, will you – okay, we got the message. All right, we got it.
Dogs. Let's go.
Usually I love it. She turned on me this week. What is happening? No, man, I get it. I like it. I do think the sub is definitely his path to victory if he's gonna get it. I think he's too small. I don't think he's gonna be able to get takedowns on Derek like some of these other bigger guys will. And then if he does get the takedowns, I don't think he can sit on Derek's chest the way a guy like Jailton Almeida did for 25 minutes. I don't see that happening. And again, I just think Derek is too big. So many times he just shoves a guy off him and stands the fuck up. I don't think he's going to get his neck caught or something in a transition like that. And then when they do exchange, Lewis will be the one that hits harder. But we'll see. I see the path. I really do. I don't think it's happening.
I'm going to call my shot for everybody in the chat. It's going to be Nascimento, round 2, rear naked choke.
There you go. All right. I'm saying Lewis is going to fly like a gorgeous eagle again and gets it done by flying knee in round 1, just like last time. No. All right, everybody. That was UFC St. Louis. Thank you all for hanging out and being here tonight. Zaid, my guy, thank you very much for breaking down the fights with me. This was fun, man. It's been too long.
Awesome,
glad to have you on camera.
Thanks, man. This was a blast. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Clint, let's catch some tickets.
Yeah, man. I like to give everybody a chance, though, man. The floor is yours. Let the people know where they can find your content if they want to support you, listen to you more. What do you got going on?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Zaid_Hussein and on Twitter as well at Zaid_Hussein. I'm going to be giving out a lot of free picks on Instagram, so just be on my story, and we're giving out a ton of picks. Last week we gave out Pantoja Orba parlay, paid plus 110. So let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling, boys.
Zaid, real quick before I cut you loose. Orba. Yeah. We are going to make so much fucking money with Oral Buy because people do not understand how good Brenner is.
Yes.
As soon as that fight was over, Twitter was blowing up with, oh, you guys are acting like this guy's elite. He couldn't get the finish.
Brenner's
He's hanging on for
legit.
dear life. I'm like, bro, they don't know how good Brenner is. If he gets underrated even just a little bit, the numbers are going to be beautiful. Robelis going to smash, and we're going to get paid.
I agree.
Let's go.
And we're going to get a good price on Brenner in the future if they give him the right matchup
Yes.
too. Like everything to look out for here. Like it was
beautiful.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Bro, the bad weight cut, the big underdog still pushing in round 3 the way he did. I thought if there was ever a spot where Brenner was going to get finished in the 3rd round, it was going to be this fight because a cardio guy, a grappling guy with power, with a bad weight cut, it was all there for him to finally go down. And he still didn't. He still almost killed this guy in the 3rd round. Brenner's a monster.
He got heart.
I can't wait.
Yep.
All right, guys. That'll do it for the show. I got to go shut my dogs up. I got to go get my wife and daughter dinner because they're going to start barking at me if I don't. I love you guys. Kick some ass this week. We will be back, of course, with the Total Takedown and the undefeated post-weigh-in show. But I got to go sweat some hockey now. Let's go Panthers. Love you guys. Have a great week, and let's roll.